Drawings on the table, drawings on the wall. Please explain the symbolism, but don't explain it all. Filtered or unfiltered, blue talk fills the air. On reason, reasons with reason. Loyalty turns into treason. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to escape from it. Don't try to trivialize it. Don't try to exaggerate it. Just float away on a cloud of shadows and shade. Fade away to the red and gray. Those shadows and shade. Fade away into the red and gray. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to escape from it. Don't try to trivialize it. Don't try to exaggerate it. Just float away on a cloud of shadows and shade. Fade away the red and gray, those shadows and shade. Fade away into the red and gray, those shadows and shade. Fade away into the red and gray, those shadows and shades. Fade away into the red and gray. Good morning, everybody. Carl Rust here. I am the president of the board trustees for Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. And we just had a board meeting the other night. We had a retreat before that. I want to fill you in on some things that were discussed. And we decided that every Sunday after we have a board meeting that I would bring a message to the fellowship. So that's what we're doing. And so I welcome you to our fellowship. We are a welcome community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. If you need assistance for hearing, go to the sound desk. We ask everybody to turn your cell phones off or to silent at this time. And if you have any questions, there are people around that will be glad to answer, or you can go to uufe.org. Okay, so first of all, we had a retreat Saturday, September 10th, and we went through the report from our consultant, Kathy Burrick, item by item, and discussed those in very great detail. And we've come up with some things that we think we need to do. One thing we would like to do is really look at the mission of the church and really look at the vision for the future. What do we want to be going forward in the future? And then more specifically, what are the action steps that we're going to take So we kind of decided that the vision is, what do we want, or who do we want to be, and the mission is how we do that. So start thinking along those lines. We'll be asking you more detail in future services to consider that. We also want to reassure you that we have not forgotten about your small group responses to questions that we asked last year. We are still looking at those, and we're still considering those, and we think those are very important to the future going forward. At the board meeting on Wednesday, we got an update from Dwight Fish on the status of the search committee. They are beginning the groundwork to decide, make some key decisions about what we wanted for a minister, how much ministry we need, and also what kind of financial package can we afford to offer. So stay tuned. There'll be more updates about that. You may have noticed that the lights have been installed in the parking lot, or they're in the process of being installed, and hopefully they'll be working by the time you hear this message. We voted as a board again to approve the repair of the roof. There were some questions about gutter covers that kind of had delayed things a little bit, but we have voted to go forward on that, and hopefully the work can be done before winter. We're looking at our new webpage, trying to get comments from board members so we can turn that on so it will be live. We're still looking at the possibility of hiring an office administrator. We recently had our committee of the whole committee fair, and seemed very successful to get information out about different committees and different needs we have in our fellowship. We're looking at developing a plan or a policy for planting, because in the past there have been times when some trees have been planted too close to the building, causing a possibility of falling on the building. And so we are looking at that. One thing that we are going to try to do at future board meetings is devote a little bit of time talking about issues that were brought up in the Kathy Barrick report and in the small group. So I think we're going to devote 10, 15 minutes at the beginning of the meeting to talk about how we can improve relations between the board, the congregation, and all our different working groups and committees. So we're always open to feedback from you. So please let us know if there's something that we can do, if you have any questions. And now enjoy the rest of the service.
Good morning. I'm Judy Darnell, and I'm a member of this congregation with our announcements. Today is Potluck Sunday, so please join us after the service for lunch. Also, there is no meditation group today, but all committee chairs are invited to join a designated table to discuss last week's committee fare. Many thanks to all who helped make Linda Arbogast's memorial service a comforting event. These include members of the CARE Committee, particularly Dwight Fish, who did an excellent job coordinating with the family about a beautiful service yesterday. The Building and Grounds Committee, which includes Mike Darnell, Jenny Hopper, Linda and Ron Gill, and Ken Claiborne were all here straightening up the grounds. And the kitchen crew, which included Oksana and Ron and Linda Gill, as well as Ray Enfield, who also helped. And so thank you, Janelle, for providing me some names. Speaking of the CARE Committee, though, they are there for us when we need assistance in times of stress. You can contact them by leaving a message on the church answering machine or by contacting Mary Adams, Mary Perrin, Dwight Fish, Steve Kripe, Karen Kripe, or Peg Cook directly. Their contact information is in the church directory. The Building and Grounds Committee will be, for you members, there will be a Zoom meeting this Tuesday. That's the day after tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Be there or be square. And the newsletter deadline is 5 p.m. next Sunday, and I apologize to committee members or committee chairs for a confusing email last week. But either the chairs or secretaries get your submissions into the focus so that we can make sure that everybody stays updated, like Carl was saying, about what's going on within our church and among our groups. Also, Thursday at 6 o'clock, there will be yoga in the gathering place, and all are welcome. Science and Society will meet next Tuesday, the 27th, in the gathering place to view and discuss the next installment of Your Best Brain. The topics for this session will be on the brain's role in attention and in pleasure. And if you haven't seen the previous episodes, come anyway, because you will enjoy these and learn a lot. UU Feasters will meet next Wednesday, the next day at 11:30 at Noodle Alley at 2370 Miracle Lane in Mishawaka. RSVP with Mary Adams by next Monday, the 26th, so she can reserve enough space for us. Church Community Services Soup of Success program is in their last week of interviewing for their next class. It is a 20-week empowerment program for the women of Elkhart County. That includes career counseling, education, support, and though the shelves in the food pantry are getting low on canned vegetables and canned meats. If you can donate, you can drop off your items either during the week or next Sunday, or make a monetary donation, or ask Ken Claiborne for a gift card to use to make purchases. And jumping forward to next month, there will be a presentation on Thursday, October 6th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the River Park branch of the St. Joseph County Library. It is entitled Can Democracy Work? Registration information is printed in blue on this sheet, which you will be able to find after the service. And as soon as I came in, Steve had a very Alrighty, last week we had a collection of $122 that we shared with the Humane Society. This collection today will be shared with the NAACP of Elkhart. Thank you very much. And when we have a guest speaker, I always say, please excuse me because I'm going to leave this room after I'm done with my announcements. And that is to take two little people out of here so we can do something that's a lot more interesting.
That's right. Oh, well, okay. Okay, yesterday we had the memorial service for Linda Arbogast, and it was very touching, you know, me and my tears. But earlier this year, Shirley Ivy died, our last founding member. And her son, John, and his sisters are arranging to have a memorial bench out in the garden to replace the one that is there. And on August 6th, he came to scatter the ashes of both his parents, Jack and Shirley. I met him, you know, to show him the site. And so he scattered the ashes and had to, you know, of course, with two people, there was so much he didn't want to leave piles, so he walked up along the trail toward the nature center. And then at the end, he read a poem for both of his parents, and that's what I'm going to read today. It's called The Psalm of Life by Longfellow. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust thou returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act, that each tomorrow finds us further than today. Art is long, and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled dreams are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. Lives of great folk all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing. Learn to labor and to wait.
The table's too far away, so. We ring the gong 3 times. Once who came before us and made a place for us, like John and Shirley Ivy and Bruce and Linda Arbogast. Once for all who are here now. And once for those who will follow and build on the dream. Our chalice lighting this morning was a creation by Jenny Peak and myself. We light our chalice to help us see, if not the answers, at least a direction. May this flame hold for us the joy of curiosity, inspiring openness to our own vulnerability and to our potential for courage as we seek the questions along our journey. Please join with me in reciting the Unison Covenant, which is in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Our loose offering today will be shared with NAACP in Elkhart, and our offering will now be taken. This is the time in our service where we share with each other what is in our hearts, joys and concerns, milestones and gratitudes. Please speak into the mic. Tell us your name and share what you would like. Choose a stone or a shell from the sweetgrass basket and drop into the water, symbolizing the gathering of our joys and sorrows in beloved community. You are also free to do so in silence. Those watching on Zoom may use the chat feature, and a member of our excellent and compassionate tech crew will speak your words for you. Please note that what is shared during this time is not recorded for YouTube. And I am also sure that many of us would be inspired to share something regarding our beloved Linda Arbogast or yesterday's service. Please keep that brief and share the details of her wonderfulness for potluck. I light the first candle to shine a light on our joys and diminish the shadows of our sorrows. We're kind of flexible around here. Our reading today comes from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. In this excerpt, the author explores the themes of love as an expression of abundance in the garden. Hear these words. When Sky Woman buried her beloved daughter in the earth, the plants that are special gifts to the people sprang from her body. Tobacco grew from her head. From her hair, sweetgrass. Her heart gave us the strawberry. From her breasts grew corn. From her belly, the squash. And we see in her hands the long-fingered clusters of beans. How do I show my girls I love them on a morning in June? I pick them wild strawberries. On a February afternoon, we build snowmen and then sit by the fire. In March, we make maple syrup. We pick violets in May and go swimming in July. On an August night, we lay out blankets and watch meteor showers. In November, that great teacher of the woodpile comes into our lives. That's just the beginning. How do we show our children love? Each in our own way, by a shower of gifts and a heavy rain of lessons. Maybe it was the smell of ripe tomatoes or the oriole singing or that certain slant of light on a yellow afternoon and the beans hanging thick around me. It just came to me in a wash of happiness that made me laugh out loud, startling the chickadees who were picking at the sunflowers, raining black and white hulls on the ground. I knew it with a certainty as warm and clear as the September sunshine. The land loves us back. She loves us with beans and tomatoes, with roasting ears and blackberries and bird songs, by a shower of gifts and a heavy rain of lessons. She provides for us and teaches us to provide for ourselves. That's what good mothers do. I looked around at the garden and could feel her delight in giving us these beautiful raspberries, squash, basil, potatoes, asparagus, lettuce, kale and beets, broccoli, peppers, Brussels sprouts, carrots, dill, onions, leeks, spinach. It reminded me of my little girl's answer to the question, "How much do I love you?" "This much," they replied. Our first hymn is in the Teal hymnal, Comfort Me, 1002, near the beginning. And Steve Kripe is going to help us with this. It's fairly easy, but it's new to most of us.
I know this is difficult for a lot of you to, in this hymnal particularly, but with the accompanist not in person. So thank you for being understanding, living with us without a live pianist until we can be back to those good old days. But in the meantime, we'll do the best we can. I'm assuming we'll sing all 5 verses. You'll notice there's 3 other verses on the second page with comfort, speak for me, dance with me, and comfort me. So we'll just do the best we can here. Comfort me, Sing with me, oh my soul. Speak, speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Very good.
It's a great joy to me to be able to welcome Jenny Peak here to UUFE. It's about to welcome me to WVPE. Reverend Jenny Peak began her journey in ministry right here at UUFE as a student minister. Since then, she has served our sibling congregation, Pocatello, isn't that fun? Pocatello UU Fellowship in Southeast Idaho. They are blessed to have her. Reverend Jenny lives with her sons, Kyle and Nathan, and their fur babies, Jen and Loki. Reverend Jenny
Thank you, Janelle, and thank you, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. It is a joy to be with you this morning. I am experiencing it much like an opportunity to revisit and be with those in the space that loved me into being a minister, into fulfilling my call, and I'm glad to be with you. The reading today by Robin Wall Kimmerer, if you have not read the book yet, I really encourage you to. It is one that for me was a cathartic healing that I took with me on a camping trip during a study leave a couple years ago. And I wept openly all the way through that book. And for the author, when she speaks about Mother Earth giving her life force, her food, everything that we need, and the bird song, what she is doing is presenting something that perhaps I don't always feel in my heart. She is presenting an unspoken confidence that there is enough, that there will be enough, that we have abundance and food and all its glorious variations, and what a joy that is. For me, there is an unspoken question And perhaps for many, for far too many of us in the US and across the world, there's an uncertainty. Will there be enough? There is a profound comfort in trusting and believing and having confidence in abundance, that there will be enough. But for those of us that perhaps share the concern that there may not be enough, we do things, don't we? We might pray, and humans going all the way back have offered rituals and ceremony and contingency planning. What if this happens? What if that happens? How will we assure that no matter what curveballs come our way, we will be all right? Seeking security, and I would say for our purpose today, seeking comfort, is a natural part of the human experience. And so it's one that I have had a lot of time to reflect on lately, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. I'm a fan of comfort, and I'm going to believe that lots of folks, perhaps all of us, share that. We enjoy perhaps having enough of climate control. We enjoy having sunshine on days when we need that. We enjoy soft clothes that protect our body. We all have our own different yardstick of how we would measure comfort. But I think we share at least the satisfaction and the appreciation of it. And what I've begun to notice more in recent years with aging and with this body I live in and its peculiar aches and pains is that sometimes my love of comfort looks more like an obsession, an infatuation that has the potential to shrink my world. It comes into play if I am saying, oh, there's a concert going on in the park. And at first it fills me with joy. I will be with friends. That's another way of experiencing comfort, to enjoy music together, to be out in the open. But this infatuation part of seeking comfort brings up the doubt, the questions. How much walking will this body have to do? I struggle with that. Will there be shade so I don't get burned? So all these things will start to come up. Will my body last for however long the event is? And so I am finding in my aging process that sometimes the window of opportunity to enjoy all the richness of life is at odds with my concern with personal comforts. That's part of why I've been thinking about this a lot lately. One thing I enjoy doing is camping. And here in Idaho, I'm sure it's all over, but I grew up in a small city and I just didn't know it to be a thing. But here in Idaho, I was introduced to dispersed camping. So dispersed camping is pretty much what you can carry in is all you're going to have. And then there's no, you're not up against neighbors like in a KOA, Campground of America. You're not in that kind of a setting, but you still have kind of the comfort, which I need, of driving into a cleared area. And then you set up however you want to set up, and you're going to only use whatever you bring with you. And so when I go into these types of camping situations, I do some things knowing I'll do without, like it'll be a cold camp often. Cold camping means no fire because I live in a very dry area where forest fires, the threat of them is quite high. So I have to think about that. And then there's the, what am I going to sleep on? And for years, I have chosen to fix everything. I sleep in a tent, but I like to sleep right on the hard ground. And when I meet folks who are not particularly in love with camping the way I am, often the very first question is a comfort question. What do you sleep on, Jenny? And for me, I sleep on the ground. And we're going to come back to that, I think, in just a little bit. But that's so you're getting the idea that I go into space where I'm leaving the amenities of climate control, plush pillows and soft, comfy mattresses and food with a stove and a microwave right at my fingertips because I am privileged and grateful for having the space for those things. And I, for a time that I decide how long it's going to be, remove myself from that comfort. So we kind of hold that image in our minds and we set it aside. And I would like to share that this summer, I also went to the Unitarian Universalist Association's General Assembly that was held in Portland, Oregon. And this was my very first General Assembly where I sought all the amenities, unapologetically seeking comfort at the max, whatever I could manage with the budget that I had for that experience. So in the past, to cut corners, I might have camped an hour's drive from wherever General Assembly was, or I might have accepted an off location hotel for the budget rate, right? For the, $49.99 for a one night stay, those kind of places. And then I would, of course, have to drive and park and walk and do all that. But for saving money, I did that. This year, I looked at the hotels that were recommended in the system. And we could talk about the classism, the inherent inaccessibility to General Assembly, but I always do tend to think of too many things that we could talk on, so I'm going to stay on point. I looked at the options I had available to me, and there was a Hyatt Regency Hotel at the convention center, 1/10 of a mile from my hotel to the convention center where General Assembly was being held. I also rented a scooter, and I would say that was a necessity more than some kind of luxurious comfort. Mobility is an issue, and I reserved a scooter, but I had never done that before. And I just made sure I had all the things I needed, the right food. The room was filled with like 4 pillows. I'm only one person who needs 4 pillows. Well, apparently some people do. It was just so much comfort to the best that my budget could manage. I left that experience richly satisfied with General Assembly, certainly feeling that I was able to enjoy so much more of it than I ever had before because I was right there. I enjoyed the aspect of reuniting with friends and colleagues and some congregants who had come as well from the fellowship here in Pocatello. And also I had that profound awareness, that deep, like in the gut where it takes a little while to name it, awareness of the stark contrast between having comfort at your fingertips, a phone call away, a concierge moment away. And those times when the uncertainty is looming large, and the times when you don't have someone to share the experience with, all these moments were in stark contrast to me bubbling up as to the experience I had just had. So I left there, and a few weeks later, I was able to do one of my little dispersed camping trips. I had a chair because I decided this time I would have a chair. This is the kind of camping that it is. Instead of valet parking where people are ready to carry everything for me, whatever I had to think twice, could I haul it in or not? And when I get to a space like that, when I've gone from the 60-mile-an-hour experience of being surrounded with people, with so many, like no one could possibly do all the activities that are provided, there are options galore. And then compare that to a gravel road at about 6,000 feet elevation, driving up, taking another gravel road, finding a clearing. And all there is this deep, quiet, not silence, but quiet. And the trees feel like they're waiting for you. But it takes a minute to lean into that. It takes a minute for the busy brain to settle down enough to match this new environment where comforts are intentionally left aside, not forever, but for this purpose of finding abundance in less. Now we know many people throughout time have done such things. There's retreats. We might forfeit silence or forfeit speaking. We may go on a silent retreat. We may decide to fast for a period of time. And why would we do that? There could be spiritual reasons. There could be solidarity reasons. There could be protest reasons to right injustices. We make these choices, and sometimes we have finite starts and stops, and we know how long this is going to happen. So the uncertainty of actual famine or actual completely being robbed of our speech, those are taken off the table. And now all we have is the start and stop, and we're kind of clear in our mind of why we're doing this. One of the reasons we might do it, besides the ones I just named, are to reduce stress, to reduce anxiety. Henry David Thoreau said, "The cost of anything is the amount of life you give up for it." The cost of anything is the amount of life you give up for it. And so from there, we see that when we start to look around and wonder, are we being owned by these items of comfort? Or are we really getting pleasure from them? And we choose to set them aside, perhaps not forever. We give ourselves an opportunity to notice what was just beyond the grasp, trying to get in, that we could not quite get because we're surrounded. We're surrounded by so much stuff all the time. We might also seek discomfort to learn about ourselves. I think for me, that's one of the biggest moments, is to calm down, to learn something of myself, and to connect with mystery. and to just give myself a moment to breathe. It's interesting if you do this yourself on a regular basis or if you try it. When I choose less myself for, it's got to be for a few days at least, up to as many days as you can fit in. What arises for me first is not super comfortable either internally. Internally, the discomfort of anxiety starts to bubble up. What did I forget to do at home? Here goes the brain. Why am I doing this? There's so many other ways I could be more productive. I could be doing more things. And some inner critic, Jenny, that's right. But let's just listen and breathe. And after a while, those feelings might wash through us and allows for something else. Sometimes it's a stillness so profound, a sense of tranquility, of peace and calm in the mind. Sometimes it turns out that there are things that I wasn't letting room or time for. Like right now, you just had your memorial, your celebration of life for Linda yesterday. And I know you've experienced loss in your own lives and in your fellowship. And same for me, the loss has been there. And sometimes in these profound moments of stillness, we give ourselves space where the voices of our loved ones come to mind, our ancestors, those who have gone before. Sometimes it's our dear ones, my grandchildren back in Indiana and Ohio. And sometimes I hear their laughter bubbling up. And it gives me great joy. Sometimes stillness allows for the non-beings surrounding me, surrounding the space, to come into attention. And for me, those things, those are why I do it. Those are why I go into those spaces. Some takeaways for this, I think, as I have thought about this, are recognizing our pursuit for comfort with no apology for it. Some of us will say, Jenny, I cannot feel the ground beneath my body while I'm sleeping, or I will not sleep. And I get that. Some of us will have other things like I have to have a hot meal or this. And some of us are struggling so hard to pull all of that together that that's where we need to be. But there's a difference between comfort owning us and us creating security at those right amounts that allow us to choose, at least for those finite times, start and stop, giving ourselves the opportunity to experience doing with less and seeing what richness is out there and is within us that perhaps we haven't given ourselves the time for. So that's choosing one way of connecting. Now, when we have this time together, and I'll need to check with Janelle that we do have time, but I share my reflections and I understand this fellowship, I learned it from you, has a time sometimes for talk back. And for me, I experience talk back as, okay, I've shared what I have to share on the subject. It's all a work in progress. But now I would invite others' thoughts on comfort, on your experiences with intentionally seeking discomfort, if you've done that, or why you wouldn't. And this will not be time for like Q&A. I think that completely loses the power of the moment of why we gather on a Sunday. And it won't be a debate, but just a deep sharing. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts at this time.
I'm going to decide that we have a couple of minutes we can use for talk back. We are at the end of our service time. If anyone feels the need to leave, we won't be offended. But I think we need time for this.
Jenny, it's Mike Puro. Back when you were a student teacher here, you gave a sermon where baskets of small stones were passed about. And for the life of me, I can't remember exactly what those stones were to signify, but it was a stone that we would take and hold and keep. From that, I started carrying that stone, lost it. I'm on my third or fourth stone now. This one happens to belong to my daughter-in-law, Satu. It brings me a lot of comfort, and for that, I thank you.
Jenny, this is Steve Kripe. Nice to see you. And thank you for reminding us things that we take for granted and never really take advantage of. I think it's easier when we retire, when we're not busy with our lives, with children and jobs, but even then, we don't take the time we need to just be in solitude and seek that quiet. Thank you.
I think it's interesting to note how what is comfort changes depending on our circumstances.
Hey, Jenny, Chuck Bauer. I just wanted to share, we talked about dispersed camping, backpacking, and I think what we do is we trade that comfort for the ability to have solitude and nature, and the opportunity to have nature without having to share it. So we get it to ourselves.
It's not just a payment, it's a trade-off. Well, we can let Chuck have the last word. And we will now join together in singing May Nothing Evil Cross This Door, hymn number 1, in the regular hymnal.
And our closing words today are from Sarah Moores Campbell, who says, "We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and then so renewed by their grace, let us move boldly into the unknown."